channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am lulling Lisa, hoping to lull you into a state of relaxation, sleep, or entertainment through ASMR. Now, today's video is very exciting because I asked for your input in the community tab. If you missed the community tab, you simply go on my profile. There's a little tab that says community, and then that's where I sometimes update you on things or ask for your help for certain things. Now, you are so good, so responsive. I even have an email from one of you that has an incredible story, so I can't wait to share that. It's quite long. A lot of these are quite long as well, and I have quite a few, so I feel as though I'm going to be reading a tiny bit faster than normal. So if you want me to talk very slow and relaxing, maybe this isn't the video for you. I'm probably going to be speaking a little bit more quickly, just so we don't take too long to get through all of these, because I know this will be a long video. So I asked you in the community tab, I asked you actually on October 1st. Wow, so we are at the end of October. This is Halloween week, so I thought it would be appropriate to release this right before Halloween. And I asked you for your scary stories in the past. So I've done a video like this before, which I will link in the description box. Now I asked you again to share your scary, spooky stories or strange and unexplainable experiences. So I'm super happy to be doing this, and I'm just going to be reading the stories. Let's see if I should do it. Top comments? I suppose I'll just be reading the top comments first. I don't know in what particular order this happens, so that will be exciting. And my dog is sleeping and snoring away behind me. Let's hope she stays that way, because if she hears one noise, this condo can be noisy. It's game over, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so I opened the community tab, and this first story right here is from LH. And you said, "Hi Lisa, I've had my fair share of spooky experiences, but here's the one that will probably stick with me forever. Every summer, me and my family travel to our home country and stay there on vacation for about 1.5 months. You said 1,5 months, so I think that's 1.5. Well, a few years ago, something very unexpected happened to me there. I was on FaceTime with my best friend at the time, and it was around 2 a.m., so everyone was asleep but me. I was just lying down in my bed when suddenly the bathroom attached to my bedroom started to flicker on and off. I guess the bathroom light. Now, this wouldn't have been a weird thing if the lamp was old and had been used for a while, but my grandmother had changed the bulb just a few days prior. For some reason, I got this really eerie feeling in my stomach, and all of a sudden I was feeling very lightheaded. Well, I was still on FaceTime with my best friend, and I told her I was feeling spooked, but she told me it's probably nothing and that I'm just tired, so I brushed it off to it being just that. After a while, the light started to flicker again, and for some very odd reason, I called out saying great-grandma's name, so the name, "Is that you? If it is, stop the flickering." And just like that, the light stopped flickering for a while. I laughed it off and thought I got lucky with the timing or something. However, out of curiosity, a few minutes later, I asked, "If it's truly you, make the light flicker again." And the lights, to my surprise, started to flicker like crazy again. This is where it gets weird though. After having said that, I began to feel almost unreal. You know the feeling where you're there but you're also not there? Yeah, that's how I felt. As well as like I was, dare I say, possessed almost, but not in a negative way. I refused to believe this was all my great-grandma's doing, so for the last time I said, "For the last time, if it's truly you, leave red marks on both my arms." That's a big ask. The pressure and pain that was being put on my arms made it impossible for me to move them. I was stuck in the same position, unable to move my body for a few minutes. all while panicking to my best friend on FaceTime. When I finally regained the ability to move my arms, I turned on the light on the nightstand and I had 2 huge red spots, like someone had put their fingers there and pinched as well as pushed down on my arm on that specific spot. After that, everything's a blur. All I remember is that my sight went black and I ended up in my mom's room crying and so out of character for some reason. My mom immediately woke my grandmother up and they took me back to the room and asked me to explain what was going on. I told them what had happened and apparently, in the midst of telling them what was going on, I paused and said, "She's in here right now and she's sitting on the edge of the bed." And then I went back to storytelling. I have no memory of saying that at all. After I was finished telling my mom and grandma what had happened, they looked at each other with wide eyes before explaining that the exact same thing had happened to my mom when she was my age. She apparently saw her uncle that passed away a few years before her incident. Even though I was scared back then, I look back at it now and feel grateful that I got to share the last few moments with my great-grandmother somehow, even though she passed many years before this happened to me. That story was really, really good. So it's kind of nice that it just happened to pop up first. Thank you, LH. That is incredible. And I think I responded to a lot of your comments, so to not keep the video too long, I'm not going to respond again. You can check them all out on the community tab. But I feel like I said it's so relatable that you would ask for a sign, because I feel like I've been there before and I've asked for signs. So that's a great story. Thank you so much for sharing. Next we have Jules, 13, and Jules said, "Hi Lisa, here's a spooky thing that happened to me a few weeks ago. I'm a waitress and the restaurant I work at is in a very old building. My coworkers say it's haunted, and even though that someone died in the building, which is true, so it's haunted and someone also died in the building. Reminds me of a haunted restaurant here where I live. So that's very interesting. A couple weeks ago, a coworker and I were rolling silverware in the back and chatting. We were closing, so it was only us and the dishwasher in the building. All of a sudden, it feels like someone is walking quickly down the hall behind both of us. I turn around, but no one's there. My coworker looks up and says, 'Oh my God, you felt that too?' We were both super freaked out, so I got up to see if maybe it was the dishwasher, but he was doing dishes when I checked. It was genuinely the weirdest, unexplainable thing I had ever encountered." Thank you so much for sharing, Jules. That is so creepy. I feel like haunted restaurants are definitely a thing, so I believe what you felt was for sure validated. Thank you so much for sharing, Jules. Next is from Lucky. So Lucky says, "I have a spooky story. So when I was little, I would visit my dad during summer because he was in a different state. Keep in mind his house is really old, so creaking floorboards and sounds like that weren't uncommon. One night I was sleeping and it felt like I was shaken awake by someone. Kind of like you feel when you're falling before you wake up, if you know what I mean. Definitely. It scared me so bad I froze and just stared at the ceiling because I was too afraid to even breathe." Let's take a deep breath. "I remember laying there and watching as the shadow of a woman just barely entered the sides of my sight. I swear I could hear her breathing and her weight on the floor. I don't recall how I fell back asleep, but I think I just fainted due to shock or something." Anyways, the next morning, my dad read something on the news about a woman that's been breaking into houses near our neighborhood. I could not believe it. Still can't, honestly. I don't know if I was just having a really bad nightmare or sleep paralysis or whatever, but that was one of the most daring experiences I've ever had. That is terrifying because either way, if it's like a ghost situation or if it's a real break-in encounter, I mean, both are super terrifying. So I'm so glad you're okay. So thank you, Lucky. Thank you for sharing. Your stories are so good, and I read these a long time ago, so now I forget what I had read. So these are good. Okay, next. Next is from Michael Camacho, and Michael said, "Hi Lisa, here's my story. 7 years ago, my mom was in hospital because she had a brain hemorrhage. So I had to take care of her almost 24/7, and I couldn't be at home for a long time. I'm so sorry, Michael. That's really intense. We owned a dog named Cookie, and she was almost 1 week alone in the house. Some friends helped me to feed her and visit her, but she was very sad. She didn't want to eat or drink water, so Mom begged me to stay at least one night at home and figured figure out why Cookie was so depressed. This is where the real story begins, or the real scary thing begins, I should say. I was at home in the afternoon. Cookie was happy to see me again, but she was afraid to leave her bed. I remember talking to her saying, "Don't worry, Mom would be okay and God is with us." But after saying that, I clearly heard a low and deep voice behind me saying, "Stop." I ran away out of the house and Cookie ran behind me. I couldn't leave even if I wanted to because I promised Mom to stay one night, so I had to be brave and stay. What freaked me out was the fact that Cookie was barking to the wall and to many directions in the living room all the evening. Like if she was seeing something and I couldn't. Of course, I was afraid as heck. That night was the worst night I ever had, and I had to sleep in my mom's room because mine was full of boxes and things, and it was impossible to sleep there back in that time. Mom's room has a big real bed and old mirror furniture right in front of her bed. Yeah, I know what you are thinking right now, but I couldn't sleep in the other place. I don't blame you. The nightmare happened after a while that night. Cookie, who was sleeping next to me, started barking and growling at the mirror, the door, and the closet. But the mirror thing, watching how she stared into the mirror and growling in a very defensive way, was horrible, and I was really afraid. I remember turning the TV on and fading the volume all night until the next day. Oh, I would definitely do the same. I couldn't sleep, and that was my spooky story. Even when I remember it, I have goosebumps. I'm so happy that you and Cookie are okay. I feel as though pets are sort of like children. They're just like extra attuned to things that sometimes we're not, because we just brush things off as like, oh, that sound I heard, or I'm being irrational, but they're on to something, these pets. So scary. Michael, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm glad everyone's okay who's writing to me. Okay, next. Next is from Legacy TYT. And Legacy said, "Good heavens, look at the time. Time to share the spooky stories again. Hi, Lisa. It's been a while. I have a super thrilling spook and will quite literally chill you to the bone. I hope it's not too gory either." Why am I forgetting all of these stories that I read? This is crazy. Okay. Okay, tuck yourself in, light the fireplace, and don't forget to get your late night snack because this is a long one. Okay, so that's your warning. And you said, "I really can't remember all the details since this story was passed all the way down to me from my great-great-grandfather from my dad's side." So this is a old wives' tale, you can say, like a little bit of a spooky story that's been passed down, which makes it so interesting. So our story takes place in a moderately snowy, like 1.15 feet deep snow and mountainous region. It's at somewhere between 1865 to 1867-ish range of time, and I think it was in between November and early December, so right around the time of my birthday. There was this party of nomadic people, not a tribe or anything, that would go back and forth between locations. They would be around 20 to 30 people making up the party at any given time, and they would always bring livestock with them, including rations and drinkable water, accompanied with 4 wagons and 4 horses, important for later. It was no newsflash that weather wouldn't be their best friend, or that the geographic landscape would always remain a static location when time progresses. So obviously they would adjust and adapt to their conditions. It's what being a nomadic person is all about. They were pretty experienced in their practice, given that they've been living this lifestyle for 13 years until their last moments. Wow. So given that they've been relatively seasoned in this regard, they kept note of the environment, example, flora, fauna, etc. And they would have a select number of routes that they would choose depending on the changing circumstances, through the mountains, around the mountains, or just going in different directions altogether. Well, this time, 1865 to 1867, they chose to go through the mountains since they thought that they had enough livestock, rations, firewood, etc. They chose this passage because it was quicker than going around, so they wanted to save time. They anticipated a bit of snow at the foot of the mountain, and since there were a plentiful amount of trees, they could round up more wood should they ever need to craft a fire, a small shelter, or whatever they might need. They would take an estimated 5 to 7 days' journey, depending on how kind Mother Nature felt like being. They would start their trip going through the passage at dawn so they could cover more ground during the daytime and scout for any shelter if needed. So this is like quite the preface of the story. So they made their way there, and about like 3/4 of the way, they got stuck in a light to moderate blizzard. That's what was told to me, and they quite literally could not advance forwards. Since they had a plethora of trees, firewood, it wouldn't be a problem. Since they had 4 wagons, they sent 4 men out to survey the landscape for better shelter than just the wagons before the snowstorm got worse. So they set out. They brought 2 horses and 2 extra heavy pieces of cloth for warmth. Since it was beginning to snow, it was expected for them to have a delayed return, and of course, taking into account the massive amount of square mileage of terrain, fast forward and it's already been 2, maybe 3 hours since their departure from the party, and worry starts to set in. Shouldn't they begin to return if they haven't located adequate shelter? What if they've been hurt? What if they ran into some wild animal? These were the questions and thoughts that began to be asked as worry started to set in the minds of the remaining party members. The party took it upon themselves to do whatever they can to shelter each other, including the remaining horses and livestock, as they crafted a fire for warmth. The next morning, the party quickly sprung into action as the 4 men and 2 horses never returned. They quickly formed a search party with the intent of looking for the missing party members. They set foot in the same direction as the 4 men and found nothing for 4 miles. However, when they reached the 5th mile mark, they discovered a gruesome discovery. All 4 men had been brutally murdered. 2 of the 4 men had fractured skulls, along with several lacerations along the chest area and back. Further inspection of the 2 bodies found broken legs and fractured necks. The other 2 men were missing facial features such as lips, tongues, eyes, etc. Oh, so they were missing those features. Oh my God. They also sustained several chest fractures along with fractured necks and skulls. The party members felt a heavy, gory sensation in their souls, and fear of the unknown began to patronize them. However, about 60 m towards the right, meters, I'm guessing, we discovered the 2 mangled bodies of the horses that the 4 men used to ride out on their scavenger hunt for shelter. Most of the body was missing its flesh and meat, as if something had taken a huge bite and devoured it. The legs of the horses were all snapped like small tree twigs. It's as if something tried to immobilize it in order to come back for later. For the fear of being next, the party quickly pushed an exit from this horror. Since they knew the area well, they understood it by about 3.5 miles out they would reach the other side of the mountain pass. They set up camp along with a large fire for extra warmth and a feeling of security. They lay their head to rest. At the crack of dawn, they would begin their march towards the other side of the pass. When they woke up, they discovered that a portion of their livestock had gone missing. They recalled tying their livestock to the wagon with a thick rope acquainted with a double knot for each animal. Despite the extra security provided for the animals, something had managed to sneak up on them and steal their livestock. Confusion began to turn into fear when they discovered not only the amount of force required to rip apart the rope, but the footprints found at the scene. They found would appear to be large footprints accompanied by blood. They found one of the bodies of the livestock, and just like the horses, all the legs had been snapped like matchsticks with no effort. The heart, liver, and chunks of flesh were missing. An account of the incident was recalled by a young girl who started crying when she told one of the party members about a large, hairy man with glowing red eyes behind the brush staring at her from a distance. After the second incident, they quickly abandoned everything and took all the women and children along with other men and quickly pursued the exit. I know it's a lengthy story this time, but this one really haunted me and excited me. Just couldn't hold this one in and wanted to share it with all of you and the rest of you wonderful human beings. That's so sweet. Not really a ghost story, but scary nonetheless, right? Still feature-worthy? Of course it is. That was so long. I'm definitely out of breath, but thank you so much, Legacy TYT. Incredible, and that's definitely spooky and unexplainable. It's like, is that Bigfoot? What is it? So interesting. So thank you so much for sharing. This next story is by Nade. Hi, Nade. Hello. I remember your scary story that you shared with me last year, and it was really good. So I'm excited. And you said, "Hi, Lisa. Hope you're doing great. Hello, all. First, I just wanted to give my usual disclaimer that English is not my native language, so I apologize in advance for any mistakes." Nade, your English is fantastic. Okay, so I do have a few stories of my own, but today I wanted to share one of my friend's stories. This was back in 2018 when I was working in a call center for a service provider. The building was kind of near a cemetery, and a lot of spooky things actually happened there. So anyway, my friend Kesha was doing the night shift with another girl plus the team leader. It was around 11 p.m. and normally at the time they didn't really get a lot of calls. So they were all just talking. They were in a room that had another small office attached to it, and it was separated by a wall, but a small section of the wall was made out of glass so you could see into the office from the room that we're working in. Okay, so they were talking when suddenly my friend saw a shadow into the other office. It was unmistakably the silhouette of a man. My friend Kesha thought it was weird because they were supposed to be the only ones in the building at the time. So she told the team leader and the other friend as well that there was someone in the other room. As she told them, all three of them noticed the man getting closer to the glass. He was dressed in all black and had a hat on. He was just staring at them with a blank expression on his face. The team leader went closer to the glass to ask him who he was, but as he got closer to the glass, the man just vanished and he was gone. The team leader actually got out of the room and went into the other office to check, but there was no one there. My friend says that he still remembers that face to this day. The frighteningly blank expression, the huge dark circles under his eyes. That was not the only weird thing that happened in that building, but I will save the stories for another time. Save it for next year. That's so exciting. Thank you so much, Nate. I really appreciate your story. That was very spooky. It just creeps me out that I'm just imagining the man with the hat on, and for some reason that creeps me out. Okay. Next story. This next story is from Christopher Raish. Christopher said, "Hello there, Lisa. First off, I have a few I'd like to share. First, when I was little, we lived in Illinois in my bedroom, and it was in the front of the house, and several times I would go to bed in the pitch black to my room, which faced the street. I'd wake up to banging on my window and look to see 3 men in hoods standing there watching me, looking around my room with weapons at times, just standing there, looking at me, turning their heads. As well with that, when I was younger, I used to have oh, that's one story, that's so creepy. As well with that, when I was younger, I used to have terrible night terrors with lucid dreams to the point where I'd wake up and be unable to move, seeing only black for several minutes, trying to scream, and I couldn't. I couldn't find my way out of my room or to the door, to the point where I just didn't sleep. And 2 days before my grandfather passed away, who was my best friend, he came to me and I saw him sitting in his chair, rocking back and forth, struggling to breathe as with his last breath, saying to me that always remember you're a great person and I will always be with you, no matter how far away I may be. Never let anyone tell you differently. Take care of yourself. I love you." And faded to black, waving to me. There's one more, but that's when my brother and I used to have simultaneous nightmares of a huge demon shadow figure coming to us and destroying our entire family in absolute horrible ways. We named it Shadow. It only ended when me and my brother got together and fought together and destroyed the shadow. Sorry for all the stories and all. Oh my gosh, Chris, that is crazy, scary. I remember reading these stories. It looks as though I didn't reply to you, but I know I replied to you, so that's really weird that my reply didn't go through, because I try really hard to respond to everyone. So, Chris, thank you so much, Christopher Raish. Thank you for your story, and I really do hope that you're okay. It's nice that you have those comforting words. I'm just going to quickly shoot off a message. Next is a shorter one. This is from Vilma. Vilma says, "My creepy little story. When I was a kid, my parents lived on an edge of a forest here in Finland. We used to go for walks in the nature with our dog, and once I was running ahead of them and right to the edge of the forest. I stopped because in front of me was an old barn. Big and red. I really wanted to go in, but my mom was shouting at me to come home, so I did. At home, I asked my dad what that big barn was, and he said there's no houses there. Plus, it was so close to our home, we would have seen it many times. I couldn't believe it, and I went back to that place many times and searched, but there was no barn or cottages or such. Turns out there used to be a road in the Middle Ages, and there was an old stone fence left of it, so maybe I saw something that used to be there 500 years ago. A ghost barn. Oh, that is so... I think I wrote to you that that's equal parts fascinating and creepy, and it really is. That intrigues me so much, so thank you so much, Vilma, for sharing. That is fascinating. Oh, I would definitely do a lot of research into that if I were you, because, I mean, maybe you saw it for a reason. Who knows? That's so interesting. Love that story. Okay. These are so good. Thank you guys so much for sharing, by the way. All right. This next one is from Isadora. Isadora says, I can tell you about my parents' haunted house. My parents own a house in Seattle and have since the late 90s. They bought it from an old woman who lived with her caretaker, and she told them it was haunted by a man who wears a black suit, white shirt, and no tie. My parents thought she was crazy, of course, but the caretaker came to them separately to tell them that when the old woman told them about the ghost, believe her. They still didn't. This reminds me about a book that I'm currently reading. So interesting. Once they bought the house, they decided to repaint the inside. My dad hired a bunch of college boys to do it for them, really buff football guys, all 6 feet tall and muscled. But when my dad got home, he found them cowering on the street behind their pickup truck. He asked what happened, and they said that they had seen a man in the window. They thought it was my dad, but when they went in to say hello, there was no one inside. My dad asked what the man was wearing, and they said it was a black suit, white shirt, and no tie. Years later, after my parents moved out with no ghostly activity, they rented the house to 3 artist types. Over the course of their lease, each woman came to them separately to let them know that the house was haunted by a man wearing a black suit, white shirt, and no tie. They reported that he was very polite. He would sometimes stand in front of the bathroom door, but would step aside if they asked, and he'd be gone by the time you left. That's insane. The renter that's been staying there for the last few years hasn't said anything about ghosts. A little bit of research shows a huge flood in that neighborhood back in the 1940s, including a few deaths. We figured he died during the flood and just stuck around. The real horror is having to pay money to have a place to live. Definitely. Thank you so much, Isadora. That is a very scary story. Very scary story. But at least it's a friendly ghost. The next story is from Amanda. Hi, Amanda. Amanda said, about 10 years ago, I was at home babysitting my little sister while our mom went grocery shopping. I have a little sister, so I can relate. My room was at the end of the upstairs hall, so we couldn't hear any cars in the driveway. We sat on my bed with the door open. It had a broken door jamb and was tilted so that the bottom dragged on the carpet rather than closing easily. It took a good shove to shut it. After a couple of hours, we heard movement downstairs. My sister and I both acknowledged the noise and whined about having to put the groceries away now that our mom was home. So relatable. Loud footsteps came up the stairs, then down the hall. The closer they came, the faster they got. Then the door slammed shut. Oh, scary. We both sat completely stunned. I tried to keep calm because my sister is so much younger than me, but I was pretty freaked out. When my mom got home, we told her, but she thought we were just nervous to be alone in the house. It's always been a strange memory, and even as I'm rewriting it, I have chills. Yeah. 4 or 5 years later, my brother moved into the room. He called me one afternoon to tell me about something strange that happened to him. He then described the exact same thing that happened to me, except his door was closed. He said that the footsteps stopped in front of it, and he waited for a few seconds, expecting my mom to knock. He called out for her and eventually opened the door, but she hadn't gotten home yet. I thought he was making fun of me, but he had no idea that something similar happened to me. Not much else has happened to suggest a haunting, but it's kind of weird that it happened twice. That is so creepy. Thank you so much for sharing, Amanda. That is really, really scary. The thing that scares me the most is that the footsteps got quicker as they got closer. That just gives me like such a just really creepy just vibe. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm glad nothing has happened since. I would definitely not want to be in that house without your mom though. Okay, the next story is from John Collins. Hi, John. John says, there was a pub me and a friend used to drink in, and it closed down a few years ago. We noticed someone had broken into the door, so we decided to squeeze through and have a look. There was smashed glass everywhere, and I remember checking the cellar, and we could both smell rotten meat. We looked around and noticed it was coming from a fridge. So we opened the fridge, and to our surprise, there was rotten meat in the fridge, and the smell was so bad we both gagged. I could hear someone in the back of the cellar, so as I continued walking, I saw a homeless man making weird noises sitting in complete darkness. He got up and charged towards me. I had my flashlight on and I was recording on my phone, and he was a ginger man with a long ginger beard. Me and my friend ran out the pub as fast as lightning. I don't know what he would have done if he had managed to grab me. I don't know if he was a drug addict or something. Definitely mental issues. I have the footage on my phone of the encounter if you want me to submit it. That was a good visual, so I said no need to submit it, but definitely a scary story. So not necessarily a haunting or anything, but a very creepy experience. So thank you, John, for sharing. That is super scary, and I'm really glad you're okay and he didn't manage to get a hold of you. This next story is from Jay. This looks like a short one. So Jay said, during elementary years, one day I was absent due to fever. The next day I went to school and a friend asked me why I was eating alone during lunch yesterday. So I also had experiences during high school with possessions and exorcisms. I lived in a dormitory. A friend was possessed because she bumped into a child spirit, and the mother spirit got angry and possessed her. She was possessed for 2 to 3 months, some incidents including the friend banging on the doors collapses and making real scary death threats. If you want me to elaborate more, please do tell. And you did elaborate more, and I didn't even see it because sometimes when comments, like when someone will reply to a comment already there, I don't personally get the notification unless I go on the YouTube page rather than this YouTube app. So let's read this together for the first time. You said, sorry for being late, you're not, so don't worry. To elaborate, you said another one for the video. Pardon my bad English, your English is not bad. You said, I lived in a dormitory during high school. A friend, A, was running in the corridor and bumped into a child spirit, which made the mother spirit angry, decided to disturb A. A got possessed, so you're referring to your friend as A. A got possessed. One night she banged on the door of the room of a girl who hated her, B. Spirits know what's inside her heart, so it must have known B hated A. She banged on it for a few hours, asking B to come out to play. For B's safety, we locked B's room, with B kept safe inside. Others are told to stay inside their rooms till the spirit got tired, and then we escorted a tired A back to her room. What the heck? A kept getting possessed for quite some weeks throughout the possessions. A, or rather the spirit, revealed stuff about B that no one even knew. The spirit also disturbed other students. I don't know whether she managed to possess others at one time or called other spirits. The last week A was in school before going back home for spiritual rehab. I was involved in the exorcism. About 8 people, including me, held her arms and legs on the bed. That's how careful we are to not let A get away. She was also fighting back with quite some strength. The elder exorcised her. This went on for 2 hours. Imagine how tired we were. At last the spirit couldn't be removed and A was sent back to her parents, but they brought her to a spiritual rehab place. I don't know what happened to the spirit. I think it finally got removed and A definitely got better after that. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I'm going to like that comment. I never saw it, so thank you, Jay, for sharing. Oh my gosh. I really hope that your friend is okay. You don't know what happened to the spirit. As long as A got better and it doesn't happen anymore, that really gives me the creeps. Thank you so much for sharing. These stories are very, very creepy. The next story is from Mads0130. Mads said, when I was young, probably about 4 to 5, my parents would put me to bed and then would watch movies in the living room together. One night they were watching something and they saw a me-sized shadow go up from my bedroom and down the hallway. So they were telling me to go back to bed, and when I didn't respond and they didn't see anything go back down the hallway, they started looking for me. When they didn't find me, they checked my room, and I was asleep and clearly had been asleep since they put me to bed. They brushed it off, but they regularly started seeing the child-sized shadow until we moved out a few years later. My mom didn't tell me until I was a teenager because she didn't want to scare me. Anytime they saw the figure, it was leaving my bedroom. Holy shit. Mads, thank you so much for sharing. I'm glad you're okay. Your parents did good to not tell you, but holy moly, I would have moved immediately. That is so scary. So creepy. Thank you so much for sharing, Mads. I would love to hear from your parents. They probably have some really good stories. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Anything involving children little ghosts or things really creeps me out. Very appropriate. Okay, so now I have 2 stories left. One is from the Atlarchy. The Atlarchy is so sweet. This person actually sent me a video idea in the past, so I had some story and video ideas from this person, so thank you so much. I'm excited to read your long story, and then I have another long one, so sit tight, we're almost done, but these are really exciting. So the Outlarky said, "One day I woke up. It was a Sunday morning. As a religious person, I got up early to go to church. But that day in particular, I didn't want to get up. Not that I didn't want to go to church, I just wished it was later. I looked around my room in a lazy state, cuddled in bed. I saw the icon of Jesus on my shelf and my collection of Warhammer minifigures. When it comes to Warhammer, I was a big fan of chaos. If you do not know what that means, Warhammer is a fantasy universe with elves, dwarves, humans, and the like. At the same time, it is also a sci-fi universe where mankind united under an autocratic ruler and almost conquered the galaxy through an iron fist. No mercy and hatred to all alien life. What makes these 2 different worlds the same? World and franchise, chaos." Thank you for explaining, because I didn't know that. In the fantasy and the sci-fi world, chaos is a weird concept but proven beyond all disbelief to exist. In the land beyond time and space, there are lands where death both prevails and all dead souls also go. There are many divine and demonic creatures living there. You can both die and be immortal at the same time. For the sci-fi universe, that is the explanation of how they traveled faster than light. For the fantasy world, it is the source of magic. Many characters from both universes express that this world is basically hell, a combination of every possible depiction of it, where every soul has anything to do with beings that make up chaos go forever. Chaos is supposed to have 4 main gods. Slaanesh, a gender-fluid deity of pain and pleasure. Nurgle, the eldest deity among them all, grandfather of decay and death. Korn, second eldest father of anger and fury. And lastly, Siege, the binder of fate, great liar, and mystic. Why am I telling you about a hobby of mine? It will all clear up by itself soon. Do not worry, just keep reading, Lisa, trust me. Okay. This is very fantasy-like. Many people like to talk about zodiac signs, which I find ridiculous. Hey, I love zodiacs. But instead of always telling people I don't do zodiac, I wanted to find a more clever and fun way, something to stump people who care about it. I wonder if you're a Capricorn. I find that Capricorns don't necessarily like zodiacs. Let me know. Something to stump people who care about it. That is how I started learning different zodiacs. There is much more than just Greek and Chinese, thus I learned my zodiac sign in the Semitic mystic practices, both Arabic and Jewish. They're not necessarily tied to monotheism, but I did have it, an unknown zodiac. Now just remember my own sign and it will be a fun comeback. My zodiac sign in semantic mysticism is Behemeron. Sorry if I'm pronouncing any of these wrong. An endless legion of demons and falling angels. If one gives in to their call and is born under their influence, they promise to give lavish creativity, vivid dreams, powerful mind, and talent. In exchange, they slowly suck from you the connection to reality which every human naturally is supposed to be born with. Now we can return to me in my bed, not wanting to get up, feeling tired. I had my shot of vaccine and could go to church with no downsides, but I simply didn't want to. I looked at the minifigure of a demon of Nurgle and said in my mind, if only Nurgle was my god, I could just sleep and it would be worship enough. I wouldn't have all my illnesses either. Couldn't I just get some sort of cough or something? I would have a reason to stay in bed then. Obviously, I don't pray to Nurgle or anything. It was a character in a game and nothing more, but I did stay in bed for a bit longer arguing with myself, but did it long enough to fall asleep. In my dream, I saw someone, many someones actually. I can't quite describe it. There was darkness and a person who spoke to me in different voices, changing appearances. I don't remember the exact words, but they did mention something along the lines of, you asked for things, we have them. Do you really want them? And my reaction in the dream, which was another lucid dream, I have tons of those, was to argue the details. I do not exactly remember what kind of details it were, but it was the kind of details most horror characters forget about before they make magical deals, thus leading them into unwanted, horrible situations. Whatever the entity was, it didn't argue much against my points. We made an agreement and I woke up as per my usual habit. Before doing anything, I just stayed in bed doing an exercise to remember my dream. They come to your mind in reverse, so it isn't as easy as one can think, but I digress. I did that trying to remember, and eventually I remembered all of it, feeling even more guilty this time, feeling that my throat is sore. It was very dry, so I just drank some water, but that made my throat hurt more. This is triggering because I currently have a sore throat. Something was wrong. I asked my grandma to make me some tea, and she did. I asked for extra lemon and honey in it. She provided, and I drank it slowly. It hurt, but after a while it helped. I was sick. I told my grandma I will be staying in bed, and so I did. I got what I asked for, didn't I? And then I think there's more in the comments, so very little. You said, I did tell about it to my spiritual father later on. He helped. There are many more things that happen around it, and I will send it to you via email. If you wish to read the whole thing, feel safe. So thank you so much for sharing. That is so intense. It is true, careful what you wish for, but I'm very surprised that became quite literal for you. So thank you so much, the Atlarchy, for sharing. I know your real name, but I will respect your privacy, and I will just call you the Atlarchy. Now, finally, to end, I have a really good story from a friend of mine through YouTube. So I met Debbie through YouTube, and we communicate from time to time, which has always been such a nice thing. So I'm just going into my email, and I'm going to find the story from Debbie. So this is another long one, but it's really good because Debbie is a psychic medium. So she has such good stories, and yeah, you always come through Debbie, so thank you so much for sharing. My battery, I can see, is running out, so if I don't get to this on time, I will change the battery and be right back, but let me try my best. So Debbie just prefaced this a bit, saying she couldn't resist writing a true ghost story when I requested them. So that's so exciting. So Debbie says, ghosts have always been a part of my life, whether they haunted the apartment I grew up in or appeared during paranormal investigations as an adult. Ghosts exist. As a psychic medium, I was hired to cleanse houses. This is also known as blessing a home. Typically, if someone hired me, it would be because they've experienced a negative activity, hauntings, or bad luck. Usually this could be based on fear, as it's difficult to determine what causes negative energy, or for another word, entities to react to the living. Very informative. I was called to a wealthy 3-story home for paranormal activity. The homeowner explained that cabinets would open on their own, glass shattered, their dog would whine for no reason, and shadows were seen. A lot of these things that you mention were mentioned in all the stories shared, so there's common elements, which is really interesting. The dog and the shadows, and this just adds like the creepy factor for me. Voices that could not be interpreted, whispers in their ears, and footsteps that could be heard on most nights. This is chilling for sure. I knew I had to bring my bundle of sage, a lighter, and a seashell to this particular home. Sage is typically used to replenish and rid of bad energy. It's a perennial shrub, and with many beliefs are healing properties. The lighter is also to light the sage and the seashell. I chose while having a meditative walk on the beach. That's very nice. I arrived at the oversized home right on time, 7 o'clock. I already felt unwelcomed when I pulled into the driveway. It's like whatever the family was dealing with knew I arrived and weren't supportive of my presence. The nauseous feeling in my stomach told me so. As I walked up to the stairs of the White House with black shutters, I noticed the home was built around the 1930s. The farmer's porch and stonework reflected it had been rejuvenated. With old homes can come old energy. I stood in front of the door for a few seconds and felt a chill that went up my spine. There was a deafness quality to the air. I didn't hear the traffic any longer, and it seemed like what I was about to enter was into an abyss. I gave 2 knocks and patiently waited for someone to answer. I could see through the window of the door that I wasn't heard. I knocked again. This time I got the attention of a preteen boy and a friend. "Hey," said the darker-haired fellow as he moved towards me to let me in. "Hi, I'm Debbie. Is your mom home?" I asked. "Yeah, Mom, she's here," he yelled. To my surprise, I wasn't aware of providing a house blessing with kids involved. I stayed quiet until the lady of the home appeared. "Welcome, thank you for coming. I hope you don't mind the boys wanted to be here. They watch those ghost stories on TV, and they even try to catch their own footage. You wouldn't believe the things they've done so far." A blonde, attractive woman spouted. Wanting to get on with my work, I sped things along. Well, this is interesting. I'll need to start at the top floor and work my way down, if you don't mind. I need to light the sage. I light the sage in the seashell before I walk up along the staircase." "Of course, follow me," she replied. I hear the boys whispering behind me on the curved stairs and turned to see what they were talking about. There was a video camera in their son's hands recording my every move. I wasn't thrilled, to say the least. To do this without my permission didn't sit well with me. It was too late to get into it with them, so I carried on. That would be so frustrating. The top floor was heavy in the sense that I couldn't breathe. There was such an uneasiness and deep sadness, really, that brought me to the first bedroom out of 5. Okay, so my battery died. I think that it's okay. I feel like we're in sort of the same position, so hopefully that's all right. I'll continue with Debbie's story because this is the last story and it's really good. So, as I continue, I think this is where I left off. I told the housewife I was feeling anxiety in my chest and the sage kept burning out, and I had to light it several times while talking to whatever it was haunting them. Then it happened. I walked into a bathroom that had a clawfoot tub, pink walls, and golden sconces. This was one of the rooms in this home that wasn't rejuvenated. As I opened a closet for the sage to permeate, I saw a man in the bathroom mirror. He had gray skin, dark hair, and very black eyes. He stood about 5'9" and glared at me. My breath stopped, and for a brief second, I felt I would pass out. I tell the boys what I had seen, and most likely they might have caught something on their camera. We carry on down the long hallway, and all of us experience a very cold air. All of us, it wasn't just me, it was all 4 of us. I began to hear voices almost like whispers around me. Get out. We don't want you here. Get out. I ignored them, which irritated the voices even more. I could tell as their volume was getting louder and louder. As the 4 of us continued down the hallway, the sconces on the wall began to burn out one at a time. One was left at the end in front of a closed door. I asked what room that was, and the pretty blonde with a shaky voice said that it was her son's room. As I stood in front of the door like a queen going into war alone with the 3 of them behind me, we all heard, "No." I had a flash of the man I saw in the mirror expressing he did not want me to enter that room. The lady of the house, clearly shaken up, put her hand on my arm as if looking for comfort. I did what any psychic medium hired to cleanse a house and opened the door. I smelled rotting flesh. Why would I even know what that smelled like? It reminded me of roadkill, to be exact. This is part of being a medium with a high sensory that it's difficult to explain. I felt my legs shaking in the room. The energy was intense. It was as if the floorboards moved beneath my feet. All 4 of us stood there, and I was felt to open the closet doors. The preteen did not want me to do that. I looked at his mom and explained I felt the need to do it, and she gave me the okay. I opened the 2 doors simultaneously, and it was a regular disorganized teenager's closet. But wait, until I saw the attic pull-down door above me. I pulled on the handle and carefully walked up to the displayed ladder just enough to see what was in there. His mom turned a light switch on and explained how the boys like to use that space as a clubhouse. I sensed tears welling up in her son's eyes. Holding the sage, I carefully placed it in on the floor of the attic space while I took a quick peek. I felt something on my back, heavy breathing on my neck and pulling me down. I thought it was one of them. I turned and all 3 are down below looking up at me. I'm beginning to understand. The man I saw in the mirror was the one terrorizing this family. But why? I got my answer. There was an altar built with black candles, small dead animals in jars, and a red star painted on the floor. On the left was an old Ouija playing board, black candles, small knives, blankets, and pillows. Here it was, the whole reason why the house had poltergeist activities and negative entities exists. I took a picture with my phone and showed the mom, who had no idea what our son was doing. She tried to deny it was him at first and then cried. The 2 boys broke down and asked what they could do to help them. I'm sorry, we were just playing around. We didn't know it would do any of this. Can you help us, please? The preteen boy begged. That's what I'm doing. I wish you would have told your mom the real reason why this stuff has been happening. I always say, never do this kind of activity, as you never know what you'll bring in. This is a classic example. I agree with Debbie, never do this, okay? Don't play with these Ouija board things. Leaving the bedroom after much sage, we 4 headed back into the staircase. I was the one at the top and felt the need to stop. I lit the sage again and became dizzy. So dizzy, I grabbed onto the railing, and all of a sudden we all heard a scream. I felt a push on my back to throw me down the stairs, but my grip held onto the railing. The boys were still recording, caught the push, and the hood on my sweatshirt lift as I almost went pummeling down. This was for sure a house cleansing I would never forget. As I was collecting payment and leaving, the boy sat in front of the TV. The lady of the house couldn't thank me enough and gave me a tip with her check. Her husband arrived home in a 3-piece suit and briefcase. She explained to me that he didn't believe in this stuff, nor did he care if I was in the house. As long as I would help them feel at ease, that's all he requested. This is Debbie, the one I told you about. She was just leaving, she tells her husband. Oh, good. Did you give her her check? Yes, she's all set. He shakes my hands and stares at me. His hand pulled away quickly, and his wife was shocked at how rude he was. I'm sorry, but as I shook your hand, I wasn't me. I mean, I was me, but I wasn't. He paused. His wife was not sure what to make of this, stepped forward to hold his forearm. I was wearing a tux with tails. You know what I'm talking about, right? He questioned me. Yes, I do actually, I respond. You were wearing an emerald green dress with emerald and diamond jewelry. We were dancing a waltz. This is crazy. This has never happened to me before. Please forgive me. This is interesting as I decided to make my room green today. That's very strange. He held his hand as his wife retrieved a glass of water for him and opened a chair. He sat at the table in silence. Do you believe in past lives? He asked. I sure do. Thanks for the check. I waved bye to the couple as I found my own way out, but before I left the front door, the boys left the camera on a side table near the bottom of the stairs. I took the disc out of the camera and put it in my pocket. I wasn't going to allow them to keep a recorded footage of me without my permission. I stood on the large porch and took a deep breath. The light wind and leaves blowing around was a perfect autumn night. Another job done. I sighed, entering the car, and plugged my address home into the GPS. The GPS was suctioned cupped to the windshield at the time. I pulled out of the driveway and felt the need to vomit. I'm sitting at a stop sign and he appeared, the entity from the bathroom mirror who tried to push me down the stairs and used the boys to terrorize others. He pushed the GPS and it went flying into my face. I quickly pulled over and screamed, No, you are not allowed to do this to me. You were kicked out of that home. Get out of my car. I screamed at the top of my lungs, holding the steering wheel. He left. I tasted blood in my mouth, my lip was cut, and my nose was swollen. I drove home shaken up. A few days later, I received an email from the lady of the house. She had the boys clean the attic space and they are no longer able to spend their time there. They said they haven't experienced any more activity. The email included that her son claimed he found the Ouija board in the attic and asked how to dispose of it. I responded to bury it out back away from the home. 1 week later, their neighbor's son saw the 2 preteen boys burying something in the backyard. He couldn't help his curiosity and unburied the item. It was wrapped in a black trash bag with an old playing board, candles, dead mice, and paint. He topped the hole with sand and brought the items to his home secretly. 2 weeks later, I got an email from the lady of the house's neighbor that said they needed my services of cleaning their house too. The boy who unburied the bag was not only curious, but claimed he heard whispers to retrieve the bag and use the items this time. We needed to be sure the contents would not be available to anyone. We had the contents brought to a landfill and disposed of. If you asked if anyone has heard whispers to retrieve the bag again since it was disposed, I don't know. All I know is that it was some kind of force wreaking havoc in a suburban town. Stay safe and don't play with things you're not sure how to deal with afterwards. Thanks for reading. Thank you so much, Debbie. That story was very, very scary and very, very intense. Oh my goodness. That's so interesting. I mean, I often don't know what to believe myself personally because I do believe all of these stories, but I wonder why? Why does this happen? And what would have a spirit attached to the human world? It's just a mystery. So thank you for sharing these stories. You were all so wonderful. And when I ask you in the community tab to come through, you all come through. And it's so special to me. So your stories were fantastic. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful Halloween, whatever you're doing. I'm sure I'll just stay home, watch some scary shows or movies, and maybe eat some Halloween candy. Although living in a condo, when you don't hand out Halloween candy anymore, it's not as fun. I used to actually like when the kids would come door to door and I would hand out the candy to them. So yeah, I'll just be home watching some scary movies and things like that. So let me know what you're doing, and thank you so much for sharing your stories. And if you missed the community tab and didn't get a chance to share, I'll be doing this next year, okay? So please don't forget to check that out around the October month when I usually ask for your stories. But thank you so much, and do be sure to check out the community tab because I will be asking you questions there from time to time, and I love your input. So I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, and rest. I hope you're well. Sweet dreams, and hopefully